Really? Do I have to? Do I need to recall this particular exhibit of Marie's? It's a nice memory for her, obviously, but for me it's pretty bitter, even though I can't explain why exactly. A lot of memories came back to me that night. I would stand in the middle of the gallery with my eyes closed, and they'd crop up as if they were connected in some way. Come to think of it, there may be something to unearth in my own personal exhibit. We'll see. Let me show you around. Since the dawn of time, people have needed rituals to mark the big life events. Here, the artist is depicting her final farewell to her daughter. At least that's what she thought at the time. Neither Alex nor I could picture you in a tiny coffin. We really preferred that you remained with us, like fine sand in a pretty vase. But in the end, even that was too heavy. I kept thinking about it. One day, on a whim, I made the call. I didn't tell your father. I didn't feel like explaining. I just called Diane, and I told her to meet me over there, by the sea. And she didn't ask any questions, nothing. She just said, "I'll be there." I was crying when we arrived at the cliff, overlooking the beach. Diane gently took out the urn from my hands, opened it towards the sea, and she said, "Donnie was a good bowler, and a good man. He was a man who loved the outdoors, and bowling." And snot splurted out of my nose all over my fucking chin. And Dan was laughing too, and 1,000 particles of you flew out around us, all up in my hair. I thought it would be freeing to see you leave like this, disappear. That was the goal of this ceremony. But now I know that it didn't work. It didn't make me feel free. Rather, it made me feel the emptiness. You know this tableau, my little fawn? It's been gathering dust in the back of my personal collection. I haven't displayed it in ages. Here, the artist is depicting her first day at the beach with her daughter. Do you remember? You started worshipping the sand as soon as we got there. You were delighted. We were already imagining you as a teenager with like 7,933 vials of sand everywhere and a subscription to Sand Fans, the Arenophile Review. Hey, if it was between that or weed, we weren't sure which would be worse. The weather was so nice that day. We had eaten ice cream under the big umbrella. Then you pulled out your little tongue, your head got close to my arm, and I felt something cold and wet above my elbow. "You taste salty," you said. You came up to me with a huge seashell. I never understood where you found it. You handed it to me with great pomp and told me I had to write a movie about it. I complained, "I don't know his life. I have no idea what he's thinking about, if he's sad or..." And then you asked me, "So, about what is it that you write movies then?" And I was speechless for a moment, but suddenly I felt it welling up in my heart and my stomach. Happiness. And then, that's it. That's what I wanted to write about. I had totally forgotten this, but at one point in my life, I wanted to write about happiness. Here, the artist is depicting herself on the bus, back from the shore. Outside, the setting sun represents something or other. Is it the end of something? Or the beginning? I was holding your urn against me the whole way back. It was empty, but it felt heavier than ever before. I was all by my lonesome on the bus back, with just a few specks of you. I looked outside the window, and this poem came to my mind. It's Lamartine. I had to learn it by heart in high school. Setting or just rising in a sky clear or gray, what good is the sun? I disregard the day. Were I to track the whole long course of his travel, my eyes would just witness all the void and gravel. I desire nothing that he could ever disperse. I don't demand a thing from the great universe. That's what I felt when I came back from the cliff. The poem, the empty bus, the urn on my knees. A void. Back then, I thought it was a good thing. I said to myself, maybe I can start writing now that this is done. I remember almost every word of the pretentious card next to Marie's painting. The auto-portrait series is undoubtedly Marie de Mange's most ambitious work to date. She arranges herself in a discomfiting position, ripe with malaise and also a certain eroticism. Self-portrait number 8 is the final entry in the series, and one of the most powerful paintings of the 21st century. Apparently the critics and the public loved it. That was the series from which everything started for Marie. I must say that there was something vibrant in these paintings. A sweet and vulnerable mystery in her eyes. It made me sick. I never could bring it up with Marie. But I'm sure that these paintings were actually inspired by the accident. The ground she's lying on. I can almost guarantee you it's pavement. And her discombobulated body as if her bones were broken. No one knows that except me. I believe she painted you instead of her. Why on earth would she make such a twisted thing, do you think? I couldn't believe how many paintings Marie had done since you died. Meanwhile, I couldn't write for my life. It made no sense anymore. When I left Alex, I did get started on something, as if separating from him had inspired me. But after a few months, nothing I had written was worth reading. Those paintings made me so angry. I kept thinking this. Marie is feeding off of my bereavement. Through her art, she managed to turn what happened into something else. Something beautiful. I, on the other hand, had nowhere left to go in that moment. I couldn't do it anymore. My bag of happiness was ripped to shreds. Thank you for visiting this exhibit with me, my little fawn. What did you learn? When I see all of this again, I wonder what made me think that making you disappear would take the pain away. Attempting to erase every bit of you meant locking me out of this incredible little room inside my heart. The place that gave me life. The place that inspired me. Now I know that I need to keep that space for you within myself so that I can write and I can live. You're still with me.
You really think that what, disappeared?
No, of course not, my little fawn. But when you died, I found myself in an impossible situation. I was thinking about you all the time. I kept telling myself it was my fault you weren't here anymore. It's awful to love someone that much, you know?
On the contrary, I think it's beautiful.
Sure, it's beautiful and awful. So I looked for a solution.
How?
I did what I always do. I watched movies.
Like what?
Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's about a couple who are separating.
Mom.
I know. I just wasn't in the mood for rom-coms at the time. If I had been, I wouldn't have gone for something starring Jim Carrey. Anyway, in the movie, there's a machine that erases people's painful memories. Jim Carrey is heartbroken, so he uses that machine because that's the only way he can go on living. That's what I tried to do with you, to get you out of my mind.
Except you didn't have a machine.
No, I had medication, I had a job, and I even did a farewell ceremony. I thought that if I could get you out of my head, I might be able to feel better.
Did it work?
Of course not. Why should it? That wasn't the right way to handle things. Now I know how lucky I am to be able to think about you every day, even though it's hard sometimes. I think about the downy little fluff on your arms, glistening in the evening sun. I think about the way you would sound complicated words. Escarpment, onomatopoeia, cacophony. They were in stories we'd read to you. You loved to parrot them back. I think about your little doodles. You came back from kindergarten every day with fistfuls of them. We filled up all the walls with them. So we ended up having to sneak some into the garbage.
I knew it!
But I promise I always looked carefully at them before. I think about all of it, little dear. And it's a reminder that you are here with me. I carry that with me into every decision I have to make. And I won't let it go for the world. I'm better now, you know? It still hurts like hell. But I get it. I can survive this. On a good day, I can even convince myself that it could be worse. You might have been a goth teenager.
What's a goth?
Well, I could show you a couple pictures of 14-year-old me. Unfortunately, I think they all got destroyed in a fire or something. What a shame. You've taught me all of this. You helped me open doors inside myself. That's what allowed me to grow. Of course, I'll go on without you. I have to. But it's really, really sad.
How does the movie end?
What movie?
The Eternal Sunshine of... whatever.
No. Well, Jim Carrey and Kate Winslet meet again. And since they don't remember each other, they fall in love again. But then they find old recordings of them saying horrible things about each other.
And? Do they split up again?
No. They decide to experience their relationships again because they want to recapture the good memories, even though they know that it's going to hurt them. I loved that ending.
I know what you mean. I understand why you're sad, Mom. But you can't be sad forever. It doesn't help you, and it doesn't help me. Life's short enough as it is. Why waste any more time?
Do you think it's that easy? That I can just press a button and pow?
You can be so egotistical sometimes.
Excuse me?
Where do I fit into all this?
But I was just...
So what? I'm going to be a bad memory for the rest of your life? A distressing thought inside your head? Do you even realize what that means? I'm scared.
What are you scared of, my little phone?
I'm scared that I'll disappear.
But you're already dead.
That's not the point. I'm talking about disappearing from here. This is the only place where I still exist. Just here. But I don't want to be this rusty nail that's killing you by degrees. You do realize that's not me at all? You do know that if you keep at this, I'm not going to exist anywhere. Anymore. You don't have to do this to me, Mom. You don't have to do this to yourself. How much longer do I have to make you miserable?
I know you don't deserve that, my little dear. It's all my fault.
Stop it, Mom. Just stop. You're stuck on repeat. I know that this can be easy to process. And I know that the truth hurts. But right here, right now, you're gonna have to remember. Really.
I'm not sure what you mean. What are you talking about? Astrid? Astrid! She's right. Of course she's right. I need to remember now. It's time. I think I'm ready. That's it. I remember now. Not everything, but...
You could at least crack a window. All that rain brought a cool front.
It had just rained. The road was wet and slippery. Shit, I can't drive with these heels on. I didn't sleep all night. I can't focus. I was exhausted. Stressed out. In no condition to drive. I was nervous about meeting with my producer.
Mom, watch for the deer!
I don't know why I didn't see the deer earlier. My mind must have been elsewhere. When I heard your warning, my first thought was to avoid hitting it. They were your favorite animal. So I swerved and we ran off the road. And then